So I had this discussion recently with a good friend of mine, and we were just complaining about, not complaining, we were joking about how you, no matter what you do, no matter how big the project is, if it's a national brand, if it's a well-funded film, if it's working with a studio, if it's working with an independent investor, if it's whatever it is, if you're self-funding it, every project seems to have a thing. And I'm speaking from the perspective of a producer, director sometimes, but I'm sure as an actor you're sensitive to that as well. And as a, wardrobe specialist or art director or whatever your crew position might be, I'm sure you've seen it or you've had that experience. And I just thought it was funny, so I thought I'd make a little video about it because it really is true. The thing that I'm on the project I'm doing right now is that it's a commercial for a big, national brand, right? But the deadline, the timeline was ambitious to begin with, and the list of demands just keeps growing. Like the closer we get to the deadline, the higher the list of demands. New things coming in, and the less the client seems to be responsive in terms of approvals and whatnot. So it's incredible. Like, we want to approve costumes for 10 different characters. Oh, but we're changing all the characters, and we have 3 days left before the shoot, and we need to get approval on all of this. Hey, I don't complain. I take it as a challenge. I love it. This is part of the craziness of being in this industry. So what, like we were talking about, can you prepare for this? Like, that's this thing. Then if I think about the documentary, for instance, that I did a few years ago, I literally was raising funds on the plane while we were going to shoot it because it was such a unique opportunity. I had to go do it, and we flew out there and we're like making calls to get the money just to get going. And we're like, talking to potential investors and stuff like, when's the project happening? I'm going right now. It started yesterday. Like I'm literally on my way. And then just to come back and realize that after the film was cut, pretty much all the interviews needed to be redone. So I had to go back to foreign countries, several of them, and reshoot all the interviews like a year later. So anyway, everything has this thing. A film my friend was working on, studio-backed film, animated. They're going through the production process. Like it's being produced. Like they're already animating some of the characters and stuff. At least they were doing the animatics for it. And this is the guy I was actually joking about with it. And the studio came in and was like, we rewrote the script here. And it's like they're already they're already structuring the animation process. So everything was approved, and then they're like, oh, just kidding. Everything's changing now. Oh, but by the way, the release date, still the same. So everything's got its thing. And I guess and there's not really a point to this video as much as just a fun conversation. But in this case, I want to say, like, just leave it with, that's why you have to prepare yourself as much as you can. Pre-production is very key, but experience. Like, I think that's the most important thing, because what I'm experiencing, for instance, now going through another, the big, like I have another video where I talk about the big versus the small gigs. On a small gigs, $10,000, $5,000, $20,000, video or something that you're doing, you're pretty, limited as to what can go wrong. Things still do go wrong, of course, but it's like it's a little more manageable. Everything's on a bit of a smaller scale. The bigger a project is, the more colossal things, seem to mess up when they do. And experience just comes in, like, now even with COVID, well, what do you do if you show up on set and you do a test to somebody and it's positive? If you don't have experience, you don't have a network, How can you replace that person within a half an hour? So these are things we're experiencing. You know, that we send literally, we have a couple days to complete our wardrobe, and they're ambitious, zany, crazy characters, like, really, really costumed characters with a couple of days. And our art director, like our wardrobe actually, just said, I don't think this is the project for me. I get buckling under the pressure 2 or 3 days before the shoot. So I was like, oh man, that's not good timing. Okay, well, hung up the phone. My co-producer was worried. I was like, don't worry. Made a few phone calls, replaced her immediately with somebody who is ambitious and ready to go, and just like, oh man, takes the challenge. And that's another thing to remember. Like, if you want to be in this industry as an actor, as any crew position, you have to love it. You really have to love it. You have to love the challenge about it. You have to love the hardship about it. And I've noticed about myself that I work best under tremendous pressure. If things are too nice for me, I get stagnant, I get complacent, I get not bored, but like, things are just like, I let things go and stuff. But if I just need the right amount of chaos, and I'm happy. I live in that space. And I found that other sort of creatives and producers and artists and stuff, they sort of live in that space too, just the right amount of chaos. Problem solving. I love that part about this industry, the instant necessity to creatively solve problems. I think that's what makes it so refreshing and just unexpected and unpredictable in some ways, where every project just throws a bunch of things at you and you're just like, okay, I got you. So far, it hasn't failed. We had a 2-day production for a finale scene with multiple dancers from, like, Dancing with the Stars, like big, famous dancers and stuff, for a finale scene of a movie that we had to shoot. And they shot, the studio, the producers from New York who I was working with to produce this ending. They had this location available, and they booked it for us. We didn't think much of it and stuff. And then it was on Santa Monica and the 405 on the day of on the day of the LA Marathon, and we literally, it was inaccessible. The marathon was all around our location. We couldn't get to the location. We had 2 days to do it. 50 crew members and cast and whatnot, probably even more. Multicam shoot. We had a whole set to build that we needed to make that whole place look like a dance show, with judges and everything. We got started about 6 hours late. We had to basically bribe our way in with traffic officers, find little back road alleys and stuff. The trucks couldn't get there. We had to do all sorts of things to improvise. On that shoot, the next day, there was an issue, no generators, there was a power surge. All 3 of our backup hard drives that our footage was getting loaded onto, completely fried. Everything that we shot the day before, raw footage off of 5 cameras, seemingly gone. It was about a week-long data recovery process. I didn't tell the client. We got most if not all of the footage back, and my color returned to my face. That's what I mean. Every project's got its thing. So far, it hasn't beat me down yet. So keep going. Prepare as much as you can, because this is the only thing I'll leave you with. No matter what position you're in this industry, if you prepare yourself for everything you can think of, and something's going to go wrong, but you've thought of every scenario that you can think of, that's the best you can do. You've given yourself the best possibility to be able to, when that situation happens, focus on that and fix that, so there's not a million other fires going on, because that'll overwhelm you. So prepare as much as you can and do the best you can with everything you're doing. Become prepared, become organized, think ahead. What if this isn't going to arrive in time? What if that'll happen? What if she won't show up? What if the location's loud? What if there's a sound issue? What if we run out of this, out of that? Think of all of that before you go in. And then when the shit hits the fan, it'll be from an unpredictable direction, but then guess what? Next time, you'll think of that direction too. And that, my friends, is experience. The more stuff happens to you, the more you learn how to solve it, the bigger and more robust your network of people that you can call back on. See, I have a list of 3 to 5 people of every single position that I can think of that I can call upon. And I know even more than that, but that's just like my oh shit list. So think about that, prepare yourself, and know that with everything that you do, there'll be another thing that you can add to your experience list, that you'll have a less hard time, a less difficult time fighting when it happens again. And that is the beauty of this industry. It's so weird to say that the worst part of this industry, in some ways, is the funnest. So go out there and create, and don't let anything stop you. You know, if you're the kind of person who's like, oh, my camera fell in the water. I was filming a kid at the beach with my camera, and I got this beautiful shot where I was just holding it right over the waves, and he was running in slow motion. And I look up for a second, and the next thing I feel is like my arms are wet up to here. Completely submerged the camera. Oh crap. I shot with it until it died. But I have a backup camera in my car, so already thought of that. All right, see you next time.